I was reborn on the day when I was supposed to get the marriage certificate for the 10th time with my husband, Officer Alexander. Alexander stood me up just like in my previous life. Knowing the outcome, I tore up the marriage report and replanned my life. To my surprise, Alexander also reincarnated. The first thing he did upon returning was to find his beloved Luciana 2 years early and bring her back to care for her tenderly. Alexander thought I would beg for his love and obediently follow him like in my past life. But unfortunately, he was overthinking it. I had already decided that I didn't want him anymore. Years later, Alexander struggled to appear at my wedding. Seeing me toasting hand in hand with my tall and handsome officer husband, Alexander collapsed, with red eyes. He asked me, "Evelyn, in this life, why don't you want me anymore?" Chapter 1. Everyone knows that the promising young officer Alexander from the Southern Military District is marrying an ordinary nurse. Everyone marvels at my good fortune to marry someone like Alexander, a child of destiny. I also believe that marrying Alexander is a blessing from heaven. I waited in the marriage registration hall for Alexander for 5 hours, filled with joy. Unfortunately, Alexander did not show up. After waiting for him for 5 hours, his guard, David, arrived late. He told me with the same sympathy as Alexander had shown the 4 times he stood me up, that Alexander had an urgent matter today and would not be coming. With my completed marriage documents in hand, I walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, filled with disappointment. The joy and excitement I felt when I arrived were matched by the disappointment and sadness I felt on my way back, because I was in a bad mood. I didn't pay attention to my feet while walking, and after missing a step, I tumbled down the stairs. I was bruised and battered, blood streaming down my face. Then I was reborn, everything from my previous life flashing through my mind like a revolving lantern. In my last life, after my relentless pursuit without any self-respect, and after Alexander had stood me up more than 10 times, we finally got our marriage certificate as we wished. Married life was not as sweet and beautiful as I had envisioned. On the 3rd day of our marriage, Alexander left for a mission, and on the 30th day after Alexander's departure, Lou's mother suffered a car accident that resulted in amputation and paralysis. In order to be a good support for Alexander and not hold him back, I silently put away the admission notice from the National University of Defense Technology, retired, and returned home to focus on taking care of Lou's mother. Later on, I discovered that I was pregnant. From the time I became pregnant until I gave birth, Alexander never appeared. He was always away on missions. By the time Alexander returned, our son was already 3 years old. Alexander achieved merit and rose through the ranks, from regiment commander to brigade commander and then to division commander. Meanwhile, I continued to be trapped at home, taking care of the child and my paralyzed mother-in-law. The days I met Alexander can be counted on my fingers. I have been circling around the old and the young in the kitchen for 30 years. In the end, Alexander's mother had no gratitude for me at her deathbed. She bitterly accused me. "It's all your fault. If it weren't for you insisting on marrying Alexander, he wouldn't have had to go on missions to avoid you, and I wouldn't have had the car accident that left me paralyzed. My Alexander's life has been wasted because of you. If you had any conscience, you would divorce him and let Alexander be with Luciana." My son, who graduated from college, also said to me, "Mom, you don't deserve Dad. Stop trapping him in this marriage and give him back his freedom." In shock, I realized that Alexander had long been accompanied by a flower of understanding, Luciana. Everyone thinks I am occupying the title of Alexander's wife, hindering him and Luciana. I didn't feel too upset about what Alexander's mother thought of me, but it was shocking that my son, whom I raised with my own hands, stood with them to blame me. My more than 30 years of dedication seemed so trivial and ridiculous in their eyes. Anger drove me to seek clarity from Alexander, but on the way, I encountered a car accident and unwillingly closed my eyes. The pain in my head was so intense that I couldn't tell if it was the aftermath of the car accident or the pain from just falling down the stairs. The despair and anger of knowing the truth made me wipe the blood from my face, push away the David who was supporting me, and forcefully tear the marriage certificate into shreds. I had never seen David look at me like this, his eyes wide and mouth agape. I didn't care about David's expression. I just forcefully tore the marriage certificate into pieces and scattered them into the sky. Chapter 2. After treating my wounds at the hospital, I prepared to return to my place. Yet, unexpectedly, I encountered Alexander at the hospital entrance. He hurriedly stopped the car and helped a frail young woman out of it. With just one glance, I recognized her identity. She was the one who, in the last life, harmonized with Alexander and was acknowledged by everyone as the future Lady Luciana. In the last life, Luciana met Alexander only after he married me and went on a mission. Why did their encounter happen so much earlier in this life? I thought to myself as my gaze fell on Luciana's face. I noticed a wound on her forehead, as if she had been struck. Alexander's concern for Luciana was palpable, to the point that he disregarded the boundaries between men and women and prepared to embrace Luciana as she ascended the stairs. Perhaps sensing my gaze, he casually glanced over, and upon seeing me, bloodied and bandaged, Alexander was momentarily taken aback. "What's wrong with you?" His voice sounded stern, as if he were questioning a subordinate or someone who had made a mistake. I didn't answer him. I simply walked slowly down the stairs. "Evelyn, I'm talking to you. Why aren't you responding?" Alexander emphasized his tone, but I still ignored him and quickened my pace. A soft voice came from behind Alexander. "Is it because Evelyn, the nurse, made you angry? If that's the case, you should go explain it to Evelyn, the nurse. Don't worry about her. You're hurt, and you need to be checked immediately." I quickened my pace, leaving the two of them in their concerned and intimate conversation behind. Tears wet my eyes. I hate myself for being so useless, having gone through such a painful life, knowing full well that my feelings for Alexander are like a moth to a flame, knowing that Alexander has no feelings for me. Why is it that seeing Alexander being so gentle and attentive to another woman still makes me heartbroken and sad? I returned home like a ghost, encountering many familiar faces along the way, all of whom expressed concern and inquired about the injury on my head. Everyone could see that my head injury was quite serious, and they all knew to show their concern and ask about it. Yet the man to whom I had devoted all my feelings, loving him to the point of life and death, showed not the slightest bit of concern. In Alexander's eyes, there was only Luciana. I thought of how in my past life I had endured solitude, relying on faith and love to hold on. I recalled how every night I cried into my pillow, soaked with tears from the pain and longing for Alexander, not knowing how many times I had done so, thinking of Alexander and Luciana holding each other closely, never giving me a shred of love or comfort. I have finally completely given up. Alexander, in this life, I will no longer foolishly chase after you. I opened the drawer, took out a piece of paper, and began to write my resignation application. I joined the army to be a nurse for Alexander, and now that I no longer intend to pursue Alexander, I have decided to leave here. Resigning is the first step I need to take. The second step I have decided is to go back to school. In my past life, I clearly knew that I was not worthy of Alexander. In order to catch up with Alexander and stand shoulder to shoulder with him, I have been studying hard for the exams. In my previous life, I took the college entrance examination and received an admission notice from the National Defense University. I originally planned to share this surprise with Alexander, but Alexander was too busy and didn't have time. Later on, Alexander was assigned a mission and left. His mother had a car accident, and I couldn't just abandon Alexander as mother. So I selflessly gave up the opportunity for further education and became a housewife. In this life, since I won't be marrying Alexander, I will go to university and take a different path than in my previous life. Chapter 3. I am going to submit my resignation application for transfer. The direct leader in charge of my military district hospital thought I was leaving because of marriage. "Evelyn, marrying Captain Lou won't hinder your work, right? Having such a head full of romantic thoughts is not good. Women can carry half the sky, but you shouldn't pin your entire life on love and family. A woman should have her own career as well. The leader truly cares for me, and I sincerely thank the leader. Thank you for the reminder. However, I didn't resign for the sake of marriage. I plan to go back to school." "Ah, congratulations. But going back to school means 4 years. What about your marriage with Captain Lou? He and I will not get married again. By the way, I hope you can keep my resignation and transfer a secret. I don't want a third person to know. The leader agreed and told me that the approval would take some time, and to go back and wait patiently. Returning to the residence. From a distance, I saw the military vehicle driven by Alexander, chasing Alexander for the past 5 years. He has rarely appeared at my place. It has mostly been me shamelessly bothering him with various excuses. Today Alexander showed up here. Is the sun rising from the west? I was thinking about it when I saw Luciana. Luciana had a bandage on her forehead, and was carefully helped out of the car by Alexander. It was probably because her body was too weak that she stumbled and fell into Alexander's hands when getting out of the car. Alexander didn't push Luciana away. Instead, he supported Luciana with one hand while using the other to unlock my door with the key. I didn't know Alexander why he was holding Luciana when he came to my place, so I cleared my throat. Hearing the sound, Alexander turned his head to look over, and upon seeing me, he awkwardly let go of Luciana. "You're back?" His voice was stiff and cold, and his gaze towards me felt like he was looking at a stranger. I found it very uninteresting and walked over in silence without saying a word. Every time I saw Alexander, the first was infatuated to the extreme. With my eyes and heart filled with him, this silent demeanor made Alexander very unhappy, and his expression soured a few more degrees. "Evelyn, you came back just in time. I have something to tell you. From now on, Luciana will be living here with you." Chapter 4. This statement surprised me to the extreme. Why does she want to live here? She just transferred here and has no place to stay. Does the unit not have a dormitory? I retorted. Isn't living in the dormitory inconvenient? I looked at the face of the man who spoke with conviction. In my past life, Alexander did not bring Luciana over, so this scene never occurred. How has so much changed in this life? But no matter how things change, it has nothing to do with me. I asked him softly, "May I ask where she will stay if I am living here?" I must clarify that I do not have the habit of sharing a place with strangers. My accommodation was assigned to me by the hospital. After all, I served in the military for 5 years, diligently enduring hardships and always taking on the toughest tasks at the front line. Everyone has seen it. The hospital leadership assigned me a 2-bedroom apartment, and now Alexander arbitrarily wants to give my housing to Luciana to live in. He really has some nerve. Alexander did not expect me to speak this way. My refusal to live with Luciana made his expression quite unpleasant. "Evelyn, what's wrong with you? Why are you nitpicking over such trivial matters?" Heh, trivial matters? Nitpicking? But why should I be generous? I ignored Alexander's ugly face and asked clearly, "What is your relationship with Luciana? Are you Luciana's superior or a relative?" My implication was very clear. Who are you to be looking for a place for Luciana? Alexander thought I was jealous, puffing up his cheeks and glaring. "Evelyn, what do you mean? You need to clarify this for me. If clarifying is what it takes, then let's clarify. Who's afraid of whom? As far as I know, you shouldn't be Luciana's relative, right? So why are you jumping around making arrangements for her accommodation? Besides, she is here for work, and the accommodation will definitely be arranged by the leadership. I really don't understand on what grounds you brought her here to stay in my house without even a greeting." Alexander was put on the spot by my question, and Luciana looked displeased as well. She shot me a sideways glance and weakly said, "Since Evelyn the nurse doesn't agree, then I'll just stay in the dormitory." Alexander was reluctant, his face dark as he pulled me aside. "What on earth are you making a fuss about? Evelyn, I'm telling you, letting Luciana stay with you is not optional. You have to agree. That's an order." "An order? How ridiculous. I'm not his subordinate. What right does he have to order me around? Is it based on habit, or just his face?" I coldly replied, "Your orders are invalid." Seeing that I was unyielding, Alexander was frustrated. "Evelyn, think carefully. If you refuse me and fail to embody the noble spirit of a military spouse, then we'll have to reconsider our marriage." Chapter 5. Are you threatening me with marriage, or humiliating me in front of Luciana? I clearly saw the smile in Luciana's eyes. She was very pleased that Alexander was treating me this way. What is she expecting? I withdrew my gaze from Luciana and looked at Alexander coldly, clearly stating word by word, "Even if Lou the captain doesn't come to find me, I am prepared to seek you out to discuss this matter. Speaking of which, I am just a small nurse, unworthy of Lou the captain. The matter of marriage is something I have overreached. I have deeply recognized my mistake and am ready to clarify it with Lou the captain. Now that Officer Lou also thinks we don't need to get married, then I will terminate all relations with Officer Lou from now on. Alexander's expression looked as if he had eaten a fly, and he said sharply, Evelyn, do you know what you are saying? I know exactly what I am saying, Officer Lou. It was all my fault before. It was I who shamelessly clung to you and forced you. This will not happen again. Let's clear things up now. And from now on, we will each pursue our own marriages without interfering with each other. Having said this, I thought that Alexander would definitely agree and we would part ways amicably. Who would have thought Alexander wouldn't face me directly to break up, but instead stared at me as if he wanted to eat me? While we were at a standstill, Luciana fainted weakly, and Alexander, feeling heartbroken, immediately took Luciana to the hospital. I entered the room without any emotions. Having torn off the facade and spoken the breakup so clearly, I knew very well that it was already an unspoken agreement that I had separated from Alexander. I have no time to mourn the autumn or lament the spring. What I need to do first is to prepare the tuition for university while waiting for the admission notice to arrive. I have truly gone to great lengths over the past few years to marry Alexander. The furniture, bedding, pots, bowls, and pans for the wedding room were all bought with my salary. I have been tirelessly preparing everything for the wedding, while Alexander has been completely indifferent, not caring about anything. I have spent my entire salary from 5 years of frugality on this wedding, leaving me with only a few hundred yuan. A few hundred yuan is definitely not enough for 4 years of tuition and living expenses. I must find a way to earn some extra money. I plan to sell all the items I prepared for the wedding so that I can raise some funds. Without hesitation, I went to the wedding room I shared with Alexander the next day to start selling things. All the furniture, bedding, pots, bowls, and pans are brand new. To get the money quickly, I sold them at prices much lower than what I bought them for. There are quite a few newcomers in the troops preparing for marriage, and the bedding I selected is very beautiful. It was the first to sell. Next to sell were the pots, bowls, and pans, and the large items were sold last. The large items are relatively heavy and also priced higher. I negotiated with Wu Zhidao, who wants to buy the large items, and he will come tomorrow to move the cabinet. He will give me half the money first, and the rest after moving the cabinet. Regardless of everything, the items were sold, and I had secured my tuition for university. I still feel quite happy inside. It was already a bit late when I returned home, so I stopped by a wonton shop by the roadside and had a bowl of wontons for dinner before heading home. As I walked and pondered, I inadvertently looked up and discovered that the window in my house was lit. And then I noticed the car parked at the door. Chapter 6. Alexander, is he coming to my house again? What does he want? I pushed the door open in a few quick steps and bumped into Alexander, who was getting ready to leave. What are you doing at my house? Alexander noticed my expression was somewhat unnatural. I came to get something. What thing? I continued to ask. It's really strange. In the past, I had to invite Alexander multiple times before he would reluctantly come to my place. Now that we've broken up, he actually runs over to my place and takes things from my house. I have a strong feeling that something is off. I maintained a stern face and extended my hand towards Alexander. Lou, Captain, we have already broken up, so you need to return the key to my house immediately? Alexander pressed his lips together, a hint of anger on his face. Everything should have its limits. Evelyn, constantly talking about breaking up is just meaningless. If I took it seriously, the consequences would be something you couldn't bear. I laughed in anger. Who is joking with you? Breaking up is something I have thought through carefully. You need to return the key to my house immediately. I thought that with Alexander's arrogance, he would take out the key and disdainfully throw it in front of me. But he actually didn't do that. Instead, he said, I know why you are angry. It's just because I didn't go with you to get the certificate yesterday, right? I had an urgent matter yesterday. Something happened at Comrade Luciana's home, and I was busy dealing with it. So I stood you up. This was my fault, and I apologize. All right then, let's take some time tomorrow to get the certificate. That should calm you down, right? At this point, Alexander still thinks that getting the certificate with me is a favor to me. I couldn't help but laugh. Captain, we broke up yesterday. Evelyn, am not interested in getting the certificate with you and will never get the certificate with you right now. I only care about one thing. What are you doing at my house? And return my house key to me immediately. Evelyn, are you serious? Alexander finally noticed something was off. He glared at me fiercely. I coldly met his gaze, and seeing that I was unfazed, Alexander was defeated. He pushed me aside and walked out. I chased after him, saying, "Give me back my key." Alexander ignored me completely as he got into the car and drove away, leaving me trembling with anger. I didn't understand why he was unwilling to return my key. Alexander had already left, so I had no choice but to go back inside. I pushed open the bedroom door and found that my drawer was actually open. My heart sank as I rushed over to take a look. The 500 yuan I had placed in the drawer was gone. Chapter 7. Alexander actually took my 500 yuan from the drawer without even saying a word. This is something I never even dreamed of. I saved this 500 yuan to prepare for the wedding banquet with Alexander. I have discussed this matter with Alexander. I didn't expect Alexander to take my money. Speaking of which, Alexander's allowance is higher than mine. Why would he take my own savings? Isn't this theft? If I had known Alexander would take my money, I should have changed the lock. Now it's too late to say anything. That night I tossed and turned, so angry that I couldn't sleep well. In the morning, the first thing I did was go buy a new lock to replace the door lock. Then I hurried to the wedding room to continue selling large items. Instructor Wu moved the cabinet and wardrobe, gave me all the remaining money, and I was also ready to leave the wedding room. But I never expected that Alexander would actually bring Luciana here. Luciana was weak and delicate, being supported by Alexander, and she didn't expect to see me here. Alexander looked very displeased. "What are you doing here? By the way, why did you change the lock on your door? It's my home. I can change it however I want. Do you have any right to interfere?" I shot back directly, thinking about the $500 that Alexander took. I asked him without hesitation, "Did you take the money from my drawer?" "Yes," Alexander admitted. "Why did you take my money?" I had an urgent need, okay? Even if it's urgent, you can't just take my money without permission, right? That's my savings, and it has nothing to do with you. Alexander, you need to return my money immediately." Alexander looked very displeased, and he supported Luciana, who weakly coughed a few times. "Evelyn, nurse. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. Alexander borrowed money from me for an urgent need, and I can't pay you back for now." So Alexander gave all the money I saved up to Luciana? I looked at Luciana's White Lotus expression and felt like my lungs were going to explode. Using my money to please Luciana. How could Alexander have the face to do that? I had no reason to quarrel with Luciana. After all, it was Alexander who took my money. I didn't look at Luciana's disgusting face, but turned to Alexander. "Taking my money without permission is theft. Alexander, give my money back to me right now." Chapter 8. Alexander the First didn't expect to give him any face at all. A look of embarrassment and anger flashed across his face. "What can you do if I don't return it?" "That's a funny thing to say. That's my money. Taking it without asking is stealing. If you don't return it, I will call the police." Alexander looked at me with an incredulous expression. "What? Evelyn, are you crazy?" "I'm not crazy. Alexander, we have already broken up. You illegally took my money from my house without my permission. As a leader, don't you feel ashamed for breaking the law?" "Alexander, he didn't mean to. It's all because of me. It's all my fault." Luciana interjected with tear-filled eyes. "Evelyn, nurse, if you have any grievances, come at me. Hit me or scold me." "Luciana, you're so funny. We have no ties. No relationship at all. Just strangers. You haven't done anything wrong to me, so why would I have any reason to hit or scold you? It was all to help me, Alexander, that your money was moved. The real culprit is me. Don't make it hard for Alexander. If you have any grievances, direct them at me." "Fine. Then give me back the money Alexander gave you. As long as you return my money, Nothing else matters. Alexander shouted. Evelyn. I sneered. What are you yelling about? Did I say something wrong? I just want my money. What does anything else have to do with me? Can I count it as a loan from you? I will pay you back later. Alexander finally lowered his proud head. When is later? I asked. It better not be an empty promise, okay? How did you become like this? I will give you the money. If you don't believe me, I can write an IOU. All right, then let's write an IOU. Saying this, I took out paper and pen and handed them to Alexander. The repayment date shouldn't be too far off. It's best if you pay me back within a month. Alexander, it's hard to put into words when I look into your eyes. I did not back down and coldly stared at him. In the end, he flushed and snatched the pen to write the IOU. I reminded him, press your thumbprint here to prevent you from denying it later. Alexander almost gritted his teeth as he pressed his thumbprint down. I took the IOU and put it in my pocket before turning to leave. As the person reached the corner of the stairs, hurried footsteps sounded behind them. Then came Alexander's frantic voice, Evelyn. Where has all the bedroom furniture in this house gone? Chapter 9. Alexander, supporting Luciana, bumped into me at the door, too focused on our confrontation to notice that things were missing from the house. It wasn't until he was ready to help the weak wind and support the willow that Luciana sat down that he realized the furniture had mysteriously vanished, leaving no place to sit. Alexander was both surprised and angry, and immediately chased after me to ask. I turned my head and naturally replied, I sold it. His face was filled with shock. What do you mean? Why did you sell the furniture we were going to use for our wedding? Why did you take it upon yourself to do this without even consulting me? I scoffed. It's my money that bought those things. I can handle them however I want without needing to ask for your opinion. Without caring Alexander's dumbfounded expression, I turned and walked away. Behind me, I heard Luciana's voice, choked with tears. Alexander, it's all my fault. It's because of me that Evelyn, the nurse, had a falling out with you. I shouldn't have come. It's okay. It has nothing to do with you. It's her fault. Alexander gently comforted Luciana. Hee. I scoffed inwardly and quickened my pace to leave this place of gossip. The next day at work, I heard from a fellow nurse, Lily, that Alexander had taken care of the frail Luciana for a whole day and night at the hospital. Lily hated Luciana. I heard she graduated from a prestigious university and is very skilled in medicine. But she doesn't look like someone who is very skilled in medicine at all. She just had a little scrape, had no real issues. Yet she was fussed over in the hospital for 2 days with medication and hospitalization. I just smiled without saying anything, thinking how truly sad it is. In the past, when I had a high fever of 39 degrees, I wanted Alexander to take me to see a doctor, but he thought I was being spoiled and went to the hospital by himself. I also thought that a qualified military wife shouldn't be spoiled, trying to make myself strong. But it turned out that Alexander was just using that as an excuse not to love me. In his eyes, Luciana was worth making a fuss over even for a small scratch. Love and indifference were that clearly defined. Fortunately, I had already calmed down. My heart was very peaceful and I felt no discomfort at all. Lily was very angry, by the way, that Luciana originally had no qualifications to be in our hospital. It was your family's Lou leader who intervened and had her kept here. She was too delicate to stay in the dormitory, complaining that it wasn't spacious enough. Our hospital arranges accommodations based on workability and qualifications. The leaders said there was no way to arrange a single room for her. And in the end, Lou leader took her away, saying he would find another place for her. So Alexander brought Luciana back to our wedding room because he wants Luciana to live in our wedding room, right? Fortunately, I had the foresight to sell all the things I bought with my money beforehand. Otherwise, it would have been a bargain for Luciana. I felt an inexplicable sense of relief in my heart, and an unnatural smile appeared on my face. Lily looked at me in confusion. Evelyn, why do you have that expression? Are you laughing out of anger? It's your fiancé being so nice to another woman. How can you smile? I tell you, Evelyn, you need to have a good talk with your family's Lou leader. I smiled and told Lily, Alexander has nothing to do with me. We have already broken up. What? Lily was stunned. You broke up? Weren't you about to get married? There will be no wedding. I have already broken up with Alexander, so please don't associate me with him anymore. The wedding room has no furniture, making it uninhabitable. Alexander even took my money to give to Luciana. I also couldn't temporarily provide money to buy things for Luciana, so in the end, she had to stay in the hospital dormitory. Chapter 10. The hospital has no single rooms. They are all shared by several people. Luciana was sent by Alexander and acted delicate in front of Alexander. But once he left, she transformed into a different person. She ordered the other people in the dormitory to help her make the bed and told them that her assigned hospital was originally in the capital. It was Alexander who specifically called her over. He went to her hometown just for her and helped her cancel the engagement her family had arranged. The fiancé her family arranged was quite stubborn and refused to break off the engagement, for which Alexander had to invest quite a bit of money. These words were transmitted into my ears without missing a single one, and I could only smile knowingly. Suddenly, a question came to mind, since I can be reborn. Did Alexander also get reborn? So the first thing he did after being reborn was to go find Luciana and bring her to his side to take care of her. And will Luciana also be reborn like us? Knowing that Alexander would hold a high position in the future, did she give up everything to follow Alexander here to be a military doctor? Of course. All of this is just my speculation. I have already talked things over with Alexander, and his matters have nothing to do with me. I am not concerned. I just didn't expect that after a few days of peaceful living, I would see Alexander again at my doorstep. Alexander was standing by the car smoking, and saw me extinguish my cigarette. A hint of a smile appeared on his face. "You're back." I didn't answer but instead retorted, "Are you here to pay me back? Give me the money, and I'll give you the IOU right away." Alexander didn't expect my reaction to be like this. His expression froze instantly. "Evelyn, you..." I looked at him coldly without any expression. Alexander met my gaze, and all he saw in my eyes was indifference. He finally conceded. "Let's talk." "No need. We've already broken up. There's nothing to talk about." "Evelyn, I know you're upset with me because of Luciana. My relationship with Luciana is not what you think. We have no relationship at all." Alexander pondered his words. "Luciana, she is a very good person. Her family situation is somewhat special. She is a very promising surgeon, and her family is quite unfortunate. I don't want to see her unable to even hold a scalpel in the future, which is why I helped her." Luciana always followed Alexander as a healthcare doctor in her past life. I heard that she graduated from a prestigious medical university and was supposed to become an outstanding surgeon. But later she injured her hand and could no longer hold a scalpel, so she could only become a health doctor beside the leader. This is what I heard in my past life about Luciana. How did Alexander know she wouldn't be able to hold a scalpel? I am absolutely certain that Alexander has returned. In my past life, he and Luciana were together day and night, and he knew everything Luciana had gone through, so he saved Luciana in advance. What a wonderful and great love! The first thing Alexander did upon returning was to stand me up to save his beloved. I should applaud and celebrate their love. It's a pity that I am the victim. I can't be happy for them. I coldly interrupted Alexander. "You don't need to tell me about your relationship with Luciana. I'm not interested. We have already broken up, and now the only connection between us is a promissory note." Alexander the First didn't expect that it would come to this, and I would still be so unyielding. "Evelyn, are you sure you want to speak to me like this? What else? How do you expect me to talk to you?" Leader, I have carefully considered my decision to break up with you. I am not playing hard to get. I don't have the time or energy for that. To avoid unnecessary trouble, please, leader, do not appear in front of me again. Alexander, how could a proud son of heaven like him ever be treated so coldly by me? His face was almost ashen as he said, "Evelyn, don't you dare regret it. Don't worry, I will never regret it. In my past life, enduring such betrayal like a beast of burden, I must have been out of my mind to even consider regret. I have no interest in when Alexander left. I just closed the door." Chapter 12. Since that night, I often see Alexander. He frequently appears at the hospital, and we run into each other. I know he came to find Luciana, and to avoid unnecessary trouble, I always keep my distance and step aside whenever I see Alexander from afar. I am very clear that what I need to do now is to stay away from Alexander, and patiently wait for my college admission letter to arrive, and for my application to resign from the military to be approved so I can leave here. Alexander doesn't know what he's thinking. Even though I avoid him, he still managed to find the nurse's station. I don't want to have any more interactions with him, so I directly asked Alexander for money in front of other colleagues. This made Alexander very awkward. He hasn't come to find me again, but every few days he has the guard David deliver things to me, which I naturally refuse and send back. Luciana has come to find me twice, speaking in a sharp and sarcastic manner, saying that since I have broken up with Alexander, I should cut ties cleanly and not linger on. I treat her like air. If her eyes aren't blind, she should know it was Alexander who came to find me, not me who was entangled with Alexander. Besides, it's not up to her to dictate how I interact with Alexander, although I really don't want to pay attention to the matters between Alexander and Luciana. The circle is just that small, and news about Luciana and Alexander still occasionally reaches my ears. Nurse Lily is a lively and well-informed person. She often talks to me about Alexander and Luciana. Lou the leader came to the hospital again today to handle a dispute for Luciana. Speaking of which, that Luciana is really ridiculous. A student from a prestigious university, yet she made a mistake during a simple surgery. By the way, Luciana doesn't want to stay in the dormitory. I heard her say she will be moving out soon, but the hospital can't assign her a room. Since Lou the leader comes to the hospital so often, everyone speculates that she will move in with Lou the leader. Evelyn, why aren't you angry? Have you really decided to separate from Lou the leader? This is Lou Leader's guard David bringing you the 8 treasure porridge. It seems Lou Leader doesn't want to part with you. Huh? By the way, today I saw Luciana crying secretly. She was scolded by Lou Leader. I just smiled at Lily's gossip and firmly told Lily that I and Alexander would be together unless the sun rises from the west. Time passed quickly, and I finally received my university admission notice. On the day I received the admission notice, I was overjoyed and specially bought candies to treat the nurses we work with. I didn't expect that when the sweets were handed out, Luciana would actually come. She stood at the nurse's station and called my full name, Evelyn. Come out for a moment. I have something to ask you. Although Luciana has been working here for a while, I have never had any work interactions with her, so I don't quite understand Luciana why she is looking for me. I followed Luciana outside, and before I could steady myself, she slapped me across the face. Chapter 13. Caught off guard. I took a hit to the face, and my anger made me retaliate without thinking, slapping her back. Luciana let out a scream. Someone's hitting. Evelyn is hitting. I stared in shock as she tore her clothes apart in just a few moments, sat down on the ground, and cried uncontrollably. This incident quickly attracted the attention of the hospital leadership, and I was called in for a discussion with Luciana, who accused me of slandering her and damaging her reputation. It made it impossible for her to work at the hospital, as she was constantly being gossiped about and treated unfairly. I didn't do anything. I was wronged beyond belief. When Luciana was crying, Alexander arrived. He only heard Luciana shed a few tears and immediately believed her account. He ordered me in front of Luciana. Evelyn, apologize. I have never done anything wrong. How could I possibly apologize? Not even under Alexander's threats. I won't apologize. That's just how it is. Even the leader's mediation is useless. Alexander. Furious. Evelyn. You act one way in front of me and another behind my back. How despicable and shameless of you. As a woman, don't you realize how much trouble your hurtful words behind Luciana's back can cause? Let me tell you, the military district is currently focusing on ideological education and cracking down on such behavior. If you don't apologize, I won't hesitate to lock you up for a few days. Alexander turned Luciana from white to black. What a deep bond of affection. I know I can't provoke Alexander. If he really gives me a hard time and tarnishes my reputation, the consequences would be unimaginable. Under Alexander's pressure, I humiliatingly chose to apologize. Luciana was smug. While I bowed my head in utter humiliation, Alexander said Luciana's reputation was ruined by me, and she couldn't stay in the hospital. so I should tidy up and let Luciana move to where I live. Saying this compensation is also a sign of my sincerity in apologizing, so it was all for my house. Truly exhausting. I didn't say anything and just nodded in agreement. After leaving the hospital, I immediately went back to pack my luggage. I threw away everything I had bought at home, and gave away what I could. Like Alexander's wedding room, I left Luciana with an empty shell. My application for transfer and resignation will take a few more days to process, so I moved to the hospital's dormitory, preparing to leave as soon as the application is approved. That night, Alexander actually found the dormitory. I didn't want to see him, but he kept shouting at the door, in order not to disturb the others resting in the dormitory. I had no choice but to meet Alexander. Alexander, with a sullen face, said, "You really are something, Evelyn." Chapter 14. What's wrong with me, Officer Lou? I apologized as you asked. What more do you want from me? Alexander, choked up, turned pale. Evelyn, you really have some nerve. I asked you to make room for Luciana, but I didn't tell you to empty your home. Why are you pulling this stunt again? I have the right to dispose of the things I bought, right? Besides, you only said to let her have the house. You didn't say I had to leave my things for her too. All right, Evelyn, stop messing around. I know you're not happy about this, but let's leave it at that. Come with me. As he spoke, he reached for my hand, but I shook it off. What are you doing? Don't touch me. Seeing that I had ruthlessly rejected his hand, Alexander's eyes flashed with a hurt expression. He wasn't an easygoing person, especially when it came to me. His temper was particularly bad. The series of setbacks he faced with me recently had really hurt Alexander. He was suppressing his anger and ordered me, "Pack your things and come with me. From now on, you're moving in with me." Why would I want to live with you? We are not related. So why should I live together with you? I refuse. What? You refuse? My rejection left Alexander embarrassed. How much I once wanted to get close to him. Now, showing him great mercy by agreeing to move in with him, I unexpectedly refused, causing Alexander to visibly become angry again. I looked at him coldly, my expression and gaze unmistakably conveying my unwillingness. He took a breath, suppressing his anger. Whether you want to or not, you have to move. How do you expect others to see you living in the dormitory? Luciana? Isn't this just another excuse and reason for others to speak ill of you? Luciana? Now, because everyone outside is saying that Luciana is ruining our relationship, you must move in with me to quell the outside gossip. For Luciana, he really went to great lengths. But I don't want to, okay? I am also an unmarried woman. Why should I move in with him? I couldn't help but ask him, what relationship do we have that moving in together would mean anything? Do I just give up my reputation? You and I are about to get married, and we will be husband and wife from now on. This is an unchangeable fact. What is there to fear about public opinion? But I don't want to marry you, Alexander. I don't want to marry you at all. What? Say that again. Alexander glared at me terrifyingly. I repeated under pressure, I don't want to marry you. I haven't wanted to marry you for a long time. Alexander looked at me with blood-red eyes, and I had a feeling that he might hit me in the next second, fear making me step back several paces. Seeing my reaction, Alexander let out a heavy sigh. I thought you were just saying things out of anger. Evelyn, if you don't marry me, who will you marry? Don't say things in anger. I admit I neglected you before. Can't I apologize? I will keep my distance from Luciana from now on. So please don't be angry anymore. Alexander's apology surprised me. Is the sun rising from the west? But I am not moved at all, and I will never forgive him. After all, he forced me to apologize to Luciana and admit my mistakes. From that moment on, all my feelings for him vanished completely. Seeing that I still wasn't ready to move out with him, Alexander lost his patience. Evelyn, you must come with me right now, even for the sake of Luciana's reputation. You have to come with me. Chapter 15. I was forced to move into Alexander's house. He lived in a 3-bedroom apartment, with the master bedroom occupied by Alexander himself, the second bedroom empty, and another room occupied by his guard. After I moved in, I locked myself in the secondary bedroom and didn't come out at all. In the morning, it was Alexander who knocked on the door to invite me for breakfast. He personally bought fried cakes, youtiao, and soy milk. I sat on one side and Alexander on the other, silently eating breakfast without anyone saying a word. Later, there was a knock on the door, followed by a delicate voice, "Alexander, are you home?" The door was pushed open, and Luciana walked in carrying a bag. Seeing me and Alexander sitting at the dining table, her expression suddenly stiffened. Clearly, she often comes here. I just didn't expect to see me. An eerie silence fell. I drank the soy milk in front of me and stood up, walking out without a word. Alexander followed behind and caught my hand. "Where are you going?" "To work." "Of course. Do I need to report to you, Leader Lu?" I asked sarcastically, still using a formal address for Alexander. He looked very displeased. He wanted to say something, but I didn't give him the chance. I directly shook off Alexander's hand and strode away. After working at the hospital for the morning, during lunch break, Lily told me, "Have you heard? That vixen came to the hospital today with swollen eyes." The term vixen is Lily's private nickname for Luciana, and I responded with a nonchalant "Oh, swollen eyes? Alexander actually let his beloved cry?" Lily continued in a low voice, "By the way, breaking news! I just found out that the vixen has faked her academic credentials." "What do you mean?" I asked in astonishment. "My cousin knows the vixen. She said the vixen didn't graduate from any prestigious university at all, just an ordinary nursing school. She doesn't have the ability to be the lead surgeon." "No way." "It's true. She had a minor surgery at the hospital and there was a mistake. Since then, she has been making excuses and hasn't performed another surgery. Now everyone is privately saying that she doesn't have any real skills." Hearing Lily's words, I felt a stir of doubt. If Lily's words are true, then Luciana really has a problem. I just wonder how Alexander would feel knowing that his beloved is such a person. I warned Lily not to speak of it outside. Right now Luciana is Alexander's one and only. If this gets back to Luciana and she holds it against him, it could cause quite a stir. I didn't expect that it would turn out to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's just that the unfortunate target isn't Lily, but rather it has become me. Luciana actually attributed all the rumors about her to me and came to confront me aggressively. Chapter 16. Having learned from past experiences, I'm afraid Luciana will scheme against me. I keep my distance from Luciana. She takes a step forward, and I take 3 steps back. Seeing me so wary of her, Luciana gritted her teeth in anger. "Evelyn, are you the one spreading rumors outside saying that I forged my diploma?" "Let me tell you, slander is punishable by law," I retorted. "Since you understand the law so well, you should also know that making false accusations without any evidence is also a crime, right?" Luciana smirked. "I know, but what can you do to me? After all, Alexander has always been on my side. He only believes me." "You said, if I went to Alexander and cried about how you were slandering me behind my back, what do you think he would do to you?" This is like taking advantage of my kindness, treating threats as if they were everyday occurrences. Even a clay figurine has its temper. Let alone I am not a clay figurine. Then why don't you just tell him? Let Alexander stand up for you? Why did you come to me instead of looking for Alexander? Luciana was choked by my words. Sulking, "Do you think I wouldn't dare? I'm giving you a chance. Evelyn, you better stop your slanderous attacks against me right now, and tell your good sisters to stop speaking ill of me, or you'll regret it later." Luciana's pretentious demeanor was truly laughable to the extreme. I scoffed. "Why are you so sure that I spread the rumors? There's a saying that goes, where there's smoke, there's fire." You have no idea whether your qualifications can hold a scalpel against me. If all of this is me slandering you, you could easily go to the leaders to clear your name. So why come to me? Luciana blushed. "I'm only talking to you because of Alexander's favor. I'm giving you a chance. Stop your slander against me immediately." "I'm afraid I can't agree to that. After all, your matters have nothing to do with me. Since you've come to find me, let me give you some advice. Rumors stop with the wise. If you act justly and sit upright, you shouldn't fear being investigated, right?" Looking at Luciana's ever-changing expression, I added, by the way, the rumors about you and Alexander were spread by you, weren't they? You want to frame me with this, making Alexander hate me and punish me, don't you? With that said, Luciana stopped pretending. So what if it is? Weren't you forced to apologize to me? Evelyn, let's be clear. I truly love Alexander. You'd better keep your distance from Alexander, or else you'll regret it. I tell you, when I get serious, I can ruin your reputation. Then I will wait and see how you plan to ruin my reputation. I laughed. Luciana, by now I basically know what kind of person you are, and I fully understand your purpose and motives. You over there pretended to say that the purpose of being slandered and defamed is just to avoid staying in the dormitory and wanting to move in with Alexander, right? Unfortunately, things did not go as you planned. Alexander did not receive you, but instead gave my housing to you. Your plan is not really a success. You thought Alexander would thus despise me, and you believed you could stay by Alexander's side openly in the future. But you didn't consider that Alexander did not act according to your wishes. Do you know why Alexander did not act according to your wishes? Luciana blurted out, why? Chapter 17. After asking this question, she realized she had misspoken and wanted to salvage the situation. But I did not give her the chance. Because Alexander is the leader. He did not reach this point for the sake of love. He is in a position of power and knows how to assess the situation. When you spread rumors about him to frame me, you should have thought that if Alexander let you live in his house, wouldn't that just confirm your illicit relationship? How could someone like Alexander allow himself to have a stain on his reputation? Luciana listened to me and suddenly realized that she was indeed Alexander's beloved woman. But she doesn't understand me like Alexander does. Without his efforts, he wouldn't have risen to his position. Someone like Alexander, who held a high position in his past life, loved Luciana so much that he chose not to divorce me but kept Luciana by his side in an ambiguous relationship. He must be considering more than just love. He has to think about his reputation and the consequences of divorcing me. I am his wife of humble origins, under no fault of my own. If Alexander divorces me, how will others view him? How will he win people over with virtue in the future? So Alexander never proposed to divorce me and marry Luciana until the day I died in my past life. And in this life, Alexander is in a rising period. He would never break up with me to be with Luciana. He has to consider many uncertain factors, his competitors, the political scrutiny he faces, his fear of my outbursts, and his concern that his future could be ruined in an instant. Therefore, he can only settle me first and wait for an opportunity. Unfortunately, Luciana doesn't understand Alexander's thoughts. She actually believes that the reason she can't be with Alexander is because of me. I am now utterly disgusted with Alexander and Luciana. What do these two repulsive people mean by dancing in front of me? Should I remain silent to be their shield? I can't compete with Alexander, but I can't let Luciana have the upper hand either. Can I? I continued to provoke Luciana. Did you really think that going to find Alexander early in the morning to curry favor would lead you to see me at Alexander's place? What were you thinking at that moment? Were you heartbroken? Luciana's face turned as red as an unsightly pig's liver. I laughed. Let me guess what Alexander said to you this morning. Your concern for Alexander is it because he didn't reciprocate your feelings. So you ended up crying? Then, after arriving at the hospital, I saw everyone pointing at you. And then you came to find me wanting to seek validation from me, continuing to try to slander and frame me? Having guessed her thoughts, Luciana glared at me with resentment. I mocked with a smile, actually. You really are wronged and don't need to come find me. You can completely suppress all of this yourself. If others say your qualifications are questionable, you can just throw out your certificate to slap them in the face. As for those who say you can't perform surgery and lack real skill, you can personally do a major surgery in front of them to show your competence. Wouldn't that prove your innocence? Luciana's expression was unpredictable, and I saw guilt in her eyes. So does that mean Lily was telling the truth about everything? Luciana indeed faked her qualifications and can't perform surgery at all? Speaking of which, all the lead surgeons in our hospital have come in based on their true abilities. Not to mention the doctors. Even the ordinary nurses are chosen from 1,000 candidates. Only Luciana was forcibly placed here by Alexander. Luciana got in through the back door. She has been working at the hospital for over half a month. In this past half month, Luciana has never presented anything convincing. She has always found excuses to avoid seeing patients and performing surgeries. In fact, until today, I had never doubted that her avoidance was due to her inability. I thought Luciana was really refusing because of her health issues. Now looking at Luciana's face, seeing her trying to frame and slander me again, I suddenly realized that she might really have a problem. It's not just that she can't perform surgery and has faked her qualifications. Her character is also seriously flawed. After all, she can slander me without batting an eye. If the rumors outside are true, then Luciana shouldn't be afraid if she really has the skills. She could clear her name with just one surgery. But she has never done that. Instead, she only knows how to come and trouble me. These signs increasingly convinced me that Luciana was feeling guilty. How could Luciana deceive the world for 2 lifetimes? She must have her own unique methods. In her past life, she claimed that being hurt by someone caused her hand injury, preventing her from having surgery. Yet in this life, her hand is perfectly fine. No one hurt her. Why doesn't she have the surgery? Could it be that the so-called injury to her hand in her past life was also a lie? If that's the case, I need to be careful in the future. I don't want any accidents to happen on the last days before I leave. Chapter 18. The face of Luciana makes me feel disgusted, while also filling me with dread. I don't want anything unexpected to happen on the day I'm about to leave. What Luciana wants is Alexander. So I will keep my distance from Alexander. I applied for the night shift. To Alexander, avoid crossing paths. I have always wanted to stay away from trouble. Yet trouble keeps finding me. The Alexander who has never been kind to me seems to have changed completely. He even came to visit me at night and brought me a late-night snack. I was in excruciating pain and shared the late-night snacks that Alexander had brought with the nurse on duty. On the morning after Alexander's 3rd visit to the hospital, I encountered Luciana, even from over 10 meters away. I could feel the murderous intent in Luciana's eyes. Luciana hates me. Not just any kind of hate. I silently cried out in despair. I didn't want to provoke Luciana, but Luciana definitely wouldn't let it go easily. To prevent any unforeseen circumstances, I need to plan ahead. I had secretly taken precautions, but an accident still occurred. That day I took leave to go to the station to buy a ticket. My supervisor told me that my application for transfer and resignation would be approved in 3 days. This good news made me very happy. So I took leave from my boss and went to the train station to buy train tickets. On the way back with the train tickets, I unexpectedly ran into Alexander's mother. This is the first time I have seen Alexander's mother since my rebirth. She was not paralyzed or amputated. She looked very spirited. And when she saw me, Alexander's mother called out to me, "Evelyn, let's talk." In my last life, before I married Alexander, Lou's mother never liked me. She despised my job, looked down on me for being an orphan, and thought I was unworthy of her son, the leader's son. Before marriage, Lou's mother didn't like me, and even after the car accident that left her with an amputation, Lou's mother still didn't like me. Even if I serve her in the most humble way, catering to her every need, she still doesn't like me. She has always felt that her amputation is my fault, that it is my bad fate that has caused her to become like this. Lou's mother wants to talk to me, and I also plan to tell Lou's mother that I don't want to marry Alexander. So we returned to Alexander's place, and I didn't expect this to be a scam. When I and Lou's mother opened the door, Lou's mother let out a sharp scream. "Someone's been killed. Evelyn, someone's been killed." Chapter 19. I was startled by Lou's mother's voice and, focusing my gaze, I saw Luciana. Luciana was lying on the ground, one hand covered in blood. I couldn't believe the scene before me. Outside, Lou's mother was still shouting. Soon, a guard heard the commotion and rushed over. Luciana was urgently taken to the hospital, while I was apprehended by the guard. To be honest, my mind was completely blank. Being caught and detained only took a few minutes. I couldn't understand how it had come to this. Why Luciana is lying on the ground with an injured hand. Why Lou's mother would slander me for injuring Luciana. A person sat in a closed room, and I finally calmed down to regain my thoughts. This matter is a complete conspiracy. Lou Mother and Luciana colluded to frame me. It's just that. When did Lou Mother and Luciana get together? Why does Lou Mother help Luciana do evil like this? I ask myself if I have always been humble towards Lou Mother, whether in this life or the last. Why Lou Mother collude with Luciana to slander me like this? Does she know what kind of harm this slander will cause me? After being locked up for almost 5 hours, Alexander finally came. His face looked very grim, and as soon as he entered, he grabbed my collar and gritted his teeth, asking me, "Why? Evelyn, why did you hurt Luciana? Do you know what you are doing? What has Luciana done to you? Do you know how cruel it is for a doctor to hurt her hand? Luciana will never pick up a scalpel again in her life." Looking at Alexander's heartbroken expression, I let out a slight sigh. "Can you let go of me? I'm feeling a bit suffocated, and my head is spinning." Alexander was infuriated by my calm tone. He let go of me but heavily pushed me down to the ground. My back hit the wall, and it hurts a bit. I struggled to get up and said to Alexander, "Call the police, whether I did this or not. Let the police investigate and find out." "You think I wouldn't dare? Evelyn, how did you become so cold and so unfamiliar to me? Do you know what the first thing Luciana did after her surgery was?" I curiously asked. "What is it?" Alexander gritted his teeth. "She pleaded for you. She said she doesn't blame you. She gave you a chance. As long as you apologize and promise to repent in the future, she won't hold it against you." "So, you mean I should go apologize?" I laughed, looking at Alexander, and said word by word, "I will not apologize. Not even if I die. This matter will be handled by the police. You are simply stubborn. Evelyn, do you know how much effort I put into suppressing this matter? Do you really think I wouldn't hurt you? Of course not. Alexander, I never hoped for you to rescue me. Never. My only request now is to call the police and let them handle this matter." Alexander was unwilling to escalate the situation. I understood his concerns, but now it's not up to him. Although I have no parents, I still have other relatives. My uncle and aunt have come, specifically asking to see me. Only when they couldn't see me did they realize I had been detained unilaterally. This matter had a significant impact. The investigation team moved into the hospital and began investigating the incident where I injured Luciana. Chapter 20. Luciana's mask was quickly lifted. She falsified her academic credentials. She is just an ordinary nursing school graduate, yet was touted by Alexander as a graduate of the country's top university. She doesn't understand medicine at all. She can only perform simple tasks like administering IVs and injections, and she is completely clueless about performing surgery. The impact of this matter is significant. Alexander was the one who recommended Luciana and has also been isolated and investigated by the organization. The entire investigation was very quick. Luciana was exposed in less than a day. After all, she could lie to Alexander as she pleased, simply because Alexander was willing to believe her choice to trust her. And the organization speaks based on facts, with no favoritism or corruption. After everything was exposed, Luciana finally couldn't keep up the facade. She confessed everything, including the previous deception and framing me, including persuading Alexander's mother to conspire against me. She said she didn't really want to harm me, just to intimidate me, just wanted to make me retreat and break up with Alexander. But this is just her one-sided statement. The facts of her framing and harming me are evident, and no one would believe Luciana's pale explanation that she was only trying to intimidate me. Luciana was found guilty of fabricating facts to falsely accuse and frame others, intending to subject them to criminal prosecution, and was sentenced to 5 years in prison due to the severity of the circumstances. And Alexander's mother was an accomplice, and she showed a good attitude in admitting her mistakes. As soon as the organization asked her, she spilled everything like beans from a bamboo tube. She said I am a disaster, bringing misfortune to my father and mother. She doesn't want me to be her daughter-in-law. She wants a daughter-in-law with a better background and more ability than I have. Then Luciana found her and told her some unbelievable things, and she became dizzy and followed Luciana's advice. She told the organization Luciana is a demon. She can foresee the future. Luciana, what she told her all came true. The organization thinks the old lady is not in her right mind. It's understandable that an elderly person can be easily deceived. so she was given a lighter sentence. Alexander and his mother was released after 48 hours, allowing her to reflect properly. As for Alexander, because Luciana's confession after the incident was deemed by the organization to indicate a chaotic personal life, he was suspended for reflection. The day I left, the sun was shining brightly, and I felt incredibly good. I could finally embark on a beautiful life. I carried my luggage and crossed the road straight to the train station. As I passed an intersection, I heard a piercing scream. I saw a person being struck and thrown into the air, landing heavily on the ground. Then, astonishingly, the vehicle that caused the accident did not brake and drove over the injured person's legs. Blood splattered everywhere. The injured person lay motionless on the ground, blood staining the pavement. I stopped in my tracks and looked over, a familiar face coming into view. It was Alexander's mother. In my previous life, she blamed me for the accident, saying I had bad luck, a hard fate, and that I brought her misfortune. In this life, I did not marry her son, so who has cursed her? I'm afraid I won't be able to know the answer to that. Chapter 21. For years passed quickly. I was completely absorbed in my studies and didn't pay attention to anything else. In my spare time, I worked hard to support myself, and life was quite fulfilling. During this time, I did receive letters, but I chose to destroy them after just glancing at the familiar handwriting on the address. Alexander once came to the school to find me, but I chose not to see him. He couldn't find me, and in the end, he had no choice but to leave. After graduation, I was assigned to the Eastern Military District, and with a passionate heart for my motherland, I devoted myself wholeheartedly to the construction of the country. I met a large group of like-minded people at work. I also found someone who loves me and is willing to spend a lifetime with me. We have an unwavering belief in each other's intentions, and we held a collective wedding with passion. The wedding was held in the troops, with hundreds of couples getting married together. We pledged in front of the national flag and emblem to always cherish each other, to always be loyal to the motherland, and to dedicate all our strength to building the motherland. During the wedding ceremony, my partner and I, along with other newlyweds, toasted to the soldiers who came to witness. I saw Alexander in the crowd, his face pale, his gaze fixed on me, his lips trembling. I calmly withdrew my gaze and took my lover's hand to leave. After the wedding, just as my husband and I were about to leave, Alexander appeared again. He asked me, "Why, Evelyn? How could you abandon me? Clearly, in the last life, you were my wife." I replied to him with a smile, "You know it was the last life." "Huh? Then do you know what I went through in my last life? On what basis can you be sure that if I were to live again, I would choose a heartless and ungrateful man?" He looked at me with a pale face. I have returned as well, and from the very first moment of my return, I have been thinking about how to end things with you. I have suffered enough in my past life. If I am to live again just to marry you, I would rather die right now. My words were resolute. Alexander, with a pale face, "It's not like that, Evelyn. I did not betray you. In my past life, I was also deceived by Luciana. It was only later that I understood her true intentions. What use is there in saying these things? Whether in my past life or this one, Alexander has not brought me a shred of warmth or comfort." I didn't listen to Alexander's explanation and left directly. I don't care about what I think of Alexander. In this life, I just want to work hard and live well. However, the matters regarding Alexander still reached my ears. It was my current husband who told me that Alexander has not risen to prominence like in the previous life. He has been held back due to issues with his conduct and has not been promoted. He has not remarried. And by the way, his mother did not live to 80 like in the last life. She went to meet the King of Hell 2 years after the car accident. As for Luciana, she was released after serving 5 years in prison. But then he went back in. It is said that he was caught for prostitution.